to another CADimensions tech tip. My name is Jesse. Today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of very simple dimensioning techniques that I find very helpful, but they're very easy to forget about because they're somewhat buried. First off is one of my favorite additions to the dimensioning tool in recent years. I'll launch the Smart Dimension. In order to place an angle dimension on this line, I would need some kind of reference. I'd like this dimension to go to vertical, but I don't have anything here to reference. In the Smart Dimension tool, all we have to do is select the edge and select its endpoint, and that will bring up a reference system for me. You can see once I select, we get a quadrant system, and I can select the reference I'd like. From here, I can choose where I want the dimension to go, and we're all set. Now normally, when dimensioning objects, I usually recommend that people dimension to a line. This gives the dimension a direction to go in, but sometimes we need to dimension from point to point. Now of course the Smart Dimension can handle this. For example, if we dimension from here to here, we'll see that the Smart Dimension gives me a dimension. However, being that it's smart, it gives me several dimensions. You can see I get my horizontal dimension. If I move off to the side, we'll get the magnitude dimension. And if I move further over, we'll get the vertical dimension. Now this is awfully handy, but in certain situations, the magnitude dimension might be close to another dimension that you're trying to achieve. Don't forget that you can lock the dimensions type and still move the dimension spacing. For example, if I want my horizontal dimension, I can now lock with my right click. From here, you can see I can move my cursor wherever I want, I can place the dimension where I need it to go, and I don't have to worry about it switching which dimension we're picking up. If I want to unlock that, again, I can right click, and now I can access any of the other types of dimensions. Now that works well when we have points to select, but what if we didn't? Let's move down here and I'll switch this view over to a configuration that has fillets. Here, if I want the same dimension, I have to figure out how to get to these points. Now these points are called the virtual sharp, and typically what we would do is select the two intersecting lines and choose the point tool. When selecting the point tool, you'll see that this will give us the intersection of where these two lines would intersect if they weren't cut by the fillet. While this is still a great option, there's a faster way to do this. Let me remove this virtual sharp. We'll zoom back out, and again, I'll use the Smart Dimension tool. I'll launch the Smart Dimension tool using my mouse gestures, and now let's select those virtual sharps. In 2014 and newer, all we have to do is right click on the first selection that we want to make and say Find Intersection. Again, I launch this from within the Smart Dimension tool. Once I choose Find Intersection, I can choose the other reference. It will create the virtual sharp, select the virtual sharp, and keep me within the Smart Dimension tool. From here, I can make my next selection. Now my next selection happens to also be a virtual sharp. So we'll come back over, we'll do the same process over again. Right click, from here, find intersection, select my second reference. It will create the virtual sharp, select the virtual sharp, and now that will count as my second selection for my Smart Dimension. Here we can set this down. Well, I hope these simple tips served as a good reminder of the great efficiency tools that SOLIDWORKS has to offer, and I hope to see you in next week's Tech Tip.
Don't forget to check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and our blog for more great content by clicking on the links in the description below.